Hello, I'm Dr. Garrett Boyer, and welcome back to Gospel Minded, where we'll spend a few minutes talking about themes related to psychology, behavioral health, emotional health, as these sort of topics emerge out of the gospel reading for the week. Again, thank you for being with me. This isn't a substitute for any kind of therapy work that you might be doing or spiritual direction, but our spiritual life and the world of psychology and our behavioral and emotional health often have a lot of parallels. So today, the second Sunday of Ordinary Time, the gospel is from John, and an interesting theme is seen in the gospel reading for this week, this idea of people leading other people towards the Lord, people directing others towards Jesus. So at the beginning of today's gospel, there's this scene where there's John, and it says two of his disciples were with him. And Jesus walks by, and John says, "Behold the Lamb of God." And those two disciples go off, and they follow the Lord, and they have this encounter with Jesus. And then later, towards the end of the gospel, we find out that one of those two that John had pointed towards Jesus was Andrew. And then Andrew, in turn, goes and finds his brother and says, we have found this one. And Andrew's brother is Cephas, who becomes Peter. So in both of these pieces from the gospel, we see that these disciples are being directed towards the Lord. Now, how is it that happened? Why is it that Andrew and this other disciple of John's were willing to follow Jesus? I think because they have a relationship with John. They have come to trust him. They've come to believe that his message is credible, that he's going to lead them towards something better, to help them be a better version of themselves, perhaps. And then the same thing with Andrew going to find his brother Cephas, who becomes then Peter. He trusts his brother. Peter can trust his brother that he'll lead him in the right direction. So I think the theme that the gospel is hitting on related to psychology, related to behavioral health, is this idea of relationships and how important a good relationship is, especially when we're trying to be the very best that we can be. We need to have good relationships with others to help us get to that place where we can be the best we can possibly be, to be that best version of ourselves. So I don't think that Andrew or that other disciple would have taken off after Jesus if the message had just come from some random character that they'd never met or never encountered before. Think about your own life. If you have somebody that you've worked with, that you've built some rapport with, that you've come to trust, if they say, hey, go and check this out, or go look at this, or go read this book, or hear that person speak, chances are you're going to take their word a little bit more seriously because you've built this connection with them. You've built this relationship with them. You can believe that their message is good and that they are trying to get you to a better place in life. So those relationships are huge, and a key for our flourishing as human beings, to foster those good relationships, to develop them. And there are two pieces then that I want to talk about with regard to these sort of relationships. It's mentoring. I want to talk specifically about mentoring, both being a mentor to others and receiving mentorship from somebody else. So when you have a good relationship with people, that's tremendous. The words that we say, the words that we hear from others, it works differently when there's a solid rapport, when there's a good relationship. But what happens when we run across somebody who we are just very impressed with? You might think, wow, they've really got it together. Or, boy, they're doing something that I want to be able to do. Or they've demonstrated some kind of competence that I would like to have for myself. Enter in then this piece about mentorship. Now, There's a ton that could be said when it comes to mentoring. Truth be told, there is a lot of literature across the domains of psychology, counseling, social work, professional development, industrial organizational kinds of literature. Mentoring is huge. The word mentor, interestingly, I was looking it up, actually comes from ancient Greek literature, specifically Homer's Odyssey. Mentor was a character, and when Odysseus took off, he trusted his good friend Mentor to teach and instruct his son while he was away. And so Mentor then just kind of became associated with a person who instructs, teaches, guides. Now in ancient literature, the Odyssey, for example, that relationship isn't as ideal as I think we in our mind think a mentor and mentee relationship should be. But point is, a mentor is somebody who we look to be a guide, a teacher, somebody who we believe has things figured out and can help me get to a place where I can really be putting my best foot forward. So look for a mentor. I hope that you can have good relationships with a lot of different people, but it is very helpful and very useful to find somebody that you trust, that you think has something to offer you, that you can look at for that direction, for that guidance. So the literature says that people who look for a mentor, they report just overwhelmingly that they find themselves in a better position to succeed because of the insight, because of the input, because of the guidance of that mentor, which is pretty fascinating. So whether you are a young professional trying to make it in whatever your industry or business is, perhaps you're a new teacher, perhaps you are, like in my case, a psychologist. I had plenty of people mentor me. Whatever it is you're trying to get better at or excel at in life, if you have somebody that you have found that you think has really got it down, sets a good positive example that you think has something to offer you, I encourage you to go to that individual and say, hey, can you be a mentor to me? I would like to learn from you. I want to be able to kind of emulate what you do and operate the way that you seem to be able to. I can honestly say that anybody I have ever asked for mentorship has been very, very happy to do it. Now, on the other hand, I have been asked to be a mentor several times, and I have always been happy to do it. But that relationship is just a little bit different. Being a mentee versus being a mentor. I read not too long ago about a very high-ranking military officer, a general, who's been in the Army for like 30 years, still looks for a mentor, still has somebody that he can go to as a mentor. And I'm thinking, wow, that is very impressive that even after all this time, after all of the competence that he's built and the wisdom that he's gained, he's still looking to get guidance and insight from others, from somebody that he trusts. So looking for that mentee or for that mentorship is important. But then what about when we are the mentor? How do you be a mentor? What does that look like? There are a lot of different models for mentorship, and a lot of different literature says a lot of different things. But there are some key characteristics that are sort of woven through a lot of the literature that I reviewed. And three of the key words that came up most often were interest, investment, and involvement. And so if I'm a mentor to another person, I'm going to want to take an interest in what it is that they are interested in. Hopefully our worlds kind of align and we've got some similar interests and things that we're striving towards. But that interest piece is huge. If you're asked to be a mentor, take an interest in those things or those topics, those areas that the other person is wanting to grow in. Then investment. We should be prepped to understand that if we are in that mentorship role, it's going to cost us a little bit. Maybe not actual money, but our time. We should have the ability to invest ourselves fully into this person that is seeking the mentorship. And then involvement. And this goes back to those fundamentals of relationships, that basic 101 good relationships and ability to relate well to others is just being present, being involved, being there, especially when somebody you're mentoring reaches out and needs you. Having that involvement is tremendous and a key piece for that mentoring relationship to really thrive and work the best that it can. So in the gospel reading today, we have these images of disciples pointing others towards the Lord, taking them someplace new, showing them something better, something greater. As a mentor, as somebody who receives mentorship from others, that's my hope and my desire is that people I trust will lead me towards something better, towards something greater, to help me be the very best that I can be, and that I, as a mentor, will do the same for others that reach out to me for guidance, that I can point them in the right direction, that I can help them on their journey get to a place where they're feeling like they're able to put their best foot forward and be the best version of themselves. So really beautiful and rich material from the gospel today. I hope that you'll take this and go and do great things this week and for the rest of your lives. Thank you again for joining me. I'm Dr. Garrett Boyer at Gospel Minded. Take care.